It's been a while since we talked a little bit of Kamen Rider on this channel, so it's high time we did so, and I could think of no better topic that's on my mind right now than Kamen Rider's rollout into the West. It's been interesting to see it unfold, and honestly rather confusing if we're going to be completely honest about it. This kind of got inspired by this thread that you see here on Twitter. Full credit to at Corona Nuva for kind of sparking this idea and getting a lot of thoughts out. I absolutely agree with a lot of what she said in this entire diatribe that went in on Twitter. Fully encourage you to go check out this and read it in depth because we could go through all of this bit word by word, but then I'm just repeating what she said, and that's not really fair. Go read it yourself. We're kind of going off of this and getting my own thoughts out about it, because the argument is that what they're doing right now, what Toei has been doing with their Kamen Rider rollout, is at best muddled. So we're going to go into my own thoughts. If you like what you see today, of course, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and if you are so inclined to see this channel keep going, a buck or two in Patreon helps out tremendously, and I thank you very much for it. So, what's frustrating about Kamen Rider as it is in the US is we're given so little as to what they're actually doing, and what we see them doing is all over the map. So, for instance, if you want to watch Kamen Rider in the US, your best bet right now is over on Tubi, where you can actually watch 01, Ryuki, Kuga, and the original Kamen Rider series all fully subbed. And Tubi is free. You can just watch. It's a wonderful thing. Now, the trick to this is it's some pretty random series to pick. Now, 01 makes sense. It's the newest series that they had available when all these deals went through, and it's a very current series that a lot of people still remember, at least in the fan base. I also think it's just a very good series and a good-looking series to present. That's fine. Kuga makes sense. It's the original series, for the Heisei era. Of course, the original Kamen Rider makes most sense, though selling new fans on a TV show from the 70s, that's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit difficult. Ryuki is the one that I kind of scratched my head at, mostly because, it seems like a random weird one to pull from Heisei. I know in Japan it's a particularly popular one. I want to say it's simply because of Dragon Knight and trying to capture that audience. And then we got the Heisei Generations Forever movie, which that was done on as a live premiere, so they had the translation. That really doesn't shock me, other than there's so much going on in that movie, no casual fans going to understand. But it does I do kind of question, I will agree that Kuga and 01 are good steps forward. If you're going to take the time to translate a full series out and put it out there, I really feel like your goal should be to do the ones that are the most popular, at least the ones that would be the most popular, especially going into the West, right? And what would come to mind immediately would be Den-O and Double. Double especially because it's where the Kamen Rider boom in the US and the rest of the world pretty much started. I think Decade kicked it off, and then when Double came out, everyone jumped onto Double, and it just took off from there. Why not? Especially because this rollout into the West cost us some of the subgroups that we depended on to get our Kamen Rider fix, which means you kind of need to create a replacement for that. And so far, their only replacement is over here on Toei Tokusatsu World, and this is where we start seeing the muddled complaint that I mentioned. So, infamously here, Toei's idea was, let's post 2 episodes of each Kamen Rider series. Why only 2? I have no idea. I don't know what you can gauge off a series with only the first 2 episodes. Unfortunately, those episodes they did produce are often poorly translated, and even if the translation is passable, the timing is terrible, so it doesn't even sync properly there. Meaning, The whole thing was rolled out as cheap as possible, as fast as possible, and when you're trying to get one of your biggest franchises out to the rest of the world and actually expand it, you're doing yourself a massive disservice by immediately sabotaging your efforts. I mean, okay, fine, you shut down TV Nihon, whatever. How about you actually utilize that? They've already done the translation work. Pay them for it, put it on your own videos, and just let it play. Just go with that. It's not that hard. It'd be cheaper than translating it yourselves, and you could get an entire series at a time out of it. This isn't hard to figure out. It's kind of it's to take that away and then present this as your alternative is a way of burning the fandom that has already been presented. That said, Toei's completely within their legal rights to do what they did. Not saying otherwise. But you're talking about the presentation of it. You're going to take away the best source of Kamen Rider we had and replace it with this. Which is just... And they weren't even released in order. That was the weird thing. And just from the get-go, look at the thumbnails on Kamen Rider O's. How much does that hurt your eyes? And then the inconsistency here. Sometimes all the lettering is blocked correctly in the color. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's overlapped. And then sometimes they go with a completely different design altogether. My subtitle, my thumbnails, they're not great either. But at least they're consistent. At least I make sure you can read them when they are at this size. This is not hard to do. This is very easy to do. Just make consistent thumbnails that look good. Just from a presentation point, this looks sloppy. And then when you actually watch and you realize the timing of the subtitles is off, the subs themselves are not great quality, you're just left wondering what they were doing. Genuinely wondering how much they're actually trying. And then you've got, things like this. And this got to me so bad. This frustrated me so much. So this is the very first time that something from Premium Bandai was offered to America as a toy. We've gotten merchandise and, like weird things that I'm not sure why American fans would want them in the first place, because we ask for the toys. We want the figure arts. We want the henshin belts. It's not a hard concept to figure out. The first offering toy-wise we got is this. In a collaboration with Mastermind Japan, a designer company that does not exist in America, who decided that they get to do whatever they want to a Kamen Rider Ichigo figure, and they decided black. Black, and then more black, and then some more black. How about some black? But have you considered black? No, I'd rather have black. Because it's the company's colors. Oh, and by the way, it comes with a display base that has the company's logo on it that has no bearing on anyone in the US, because it's not anything we know of. And we were told, and here's the thing, here's what I hate about something like this. Aside from the fact that it actually did sell out at $100 each, jeez. What I hate about things like this is we're being told that we have to actually support this. We're being told by Team Rider and Toei and indirectly Toei themselves, if you want to see Kamen Rider in the US, if you want to see merchandise and toys released in the US, you've got to support what we put out. Buy it or this ends. Buy it or else, essentially. Essentially, they're holding the entire franchise hostage. But they're not putting their best... Again, they aren't putting their best foot forward. They're not putting out a popular character. They're putting out a black repaint that doesn't look good in the first place. An Ichigo figure art would be fine. An all-black one that barely looks like the character? That's not fine. That's a terrible first step. Especially when you know what we want, Toei. You know what we want. We want the belts, and we want figure arts that look like the toys. That look like the characters in the shows. That's not hard to figure out. Instead, we get this. And then we get other things, too. And I said to myself, if Kamen Rider comes out in America, I will support it. Because I want to support the American launch of Kamen Rider. So, when you have things like this... This is the omnibus of the original Kamen Rider manga. There's 850 pages here. $850. Listen, I could kill a charging shocker grunt with this book. It's just an absurd amount. It's like absolutely overkill. Why not release it in multiple volumes so it doesn't get like this thick? Because Toei only wanted to release one thing. They just wanted one thing to make, and then that was it. Just to test the waters. This is a $33 book in stores, and you're going to test the waters with something like this. And it's the original manga. And, there's historic value to it. There's stories here that have never been available in English, because, this isn't something that gets, fan translated. No scanlations existed of these. But also, it's the super old stories that really didn't have a whole lot to them. It's the old art style that just doesn't appeal to a current, to current customers. You need to do something current. You have Futo Detectives. Why didn't you make that? You translate Futo Detectives. It's a lot less pages. It's a lot smaller. It's current. Kamen Rider fans in the US know double. And you're getting ready for the Futo PI anime this year. That would have been a great way to test the waters. It would have been cheaper too. Less to translate, less to print. Nope. 850 pages. I will never make my way through this. I own it because I was told I have to support Kamen Rider in the US, and I told myself I would. It's not, it's not what I would want, but I have to buy it in order to get what I want. Or at least that's what I'm being led to. That's what I'm being told. That's what I'm being led to believe. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, but that's what I have to go by because we're not getting anything else. I also have this. This is good. This is good. It's, fully subtitled Kamen Rider 01. 01's a good series. I think this was the good first one to release. Very current with fans. Very good looking. And a very good show. This, I think, was the ideal first step for Kamen Rider as a physical media. I do think you made a misstep by offering it on Tubi at the same time for free, because now the sales on this don't really gauge the interest, do they? Again, if you're doing Futo PI later this year, I think the entire rollout should have been Kamen Rider double-based. Should have been double fully subtitled on Tubi or YouTube. Should have been double on DVD. Should have been the Futo Detectives manga. Should have been all of that. All of it. But instead, we get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we'll see whatever works. But again, that's so confusing. It's so, weird. And it's hard to actually gauge the overall interest in Kamen Rider when what you're doing just isn't consistent. I don't know. See, I can look at this and go, why did I buy the Blu-ray? It was just for free. So, it just confuses me. It just confuses me. And then, okay, fine. It's available. That's great. But still. And Team Rider isn't helping either. Team Rider, they don't come across as professional. They come across as fanboys being led by Toei. Which is not what we need. Put fanboys in charge. Put faces of the fandom in the U.S. at the helm. Sure, fine. Presentation-wise, that's what you should be doing. But when it's just, when the message they keep giving is basically, if you want more, support this. But this isn't what we want. And it's not what we want. You know what we want. So where is it? I don't know. It's just, all of this is just super frustrating to me because it feels like it could have been done better. And we know it could be done better. We look at Toei Tokusatsu World Official, 342,000 subscribers. Okay, not bad. I wish I had those numbers. Hit the subscribe button. But take a look. Behold Tsuburaya Productions and the official Ultraman YouTube page. 2 million subscribers. 2 million. You know why? Because they're not messing about. They don't have all their media spread about in a whole bunch of different directions. They're not randomly throwing things online. They're not giving you 2 episodes at a time. They realize that it's more important to build the fan base and then market it rather than selling things first and then seeing if it works. You can watch all of the current Ultraman. Like, they just post it. If it's going, they just post Ultraman to see as it's going live in Japan, so you don't even fall behind what they're seeing over there. It's brilliant. It's wonderful, and it treats the fandom with respect because they're actually being generous with it. And as a result, they're building up interest in Ultraman as a franchise the way it's never been able to in America before. They are making it engaging and good and fun and interesting, and then they are spinning that into the marketing. And you've seen the expansion with the Marvel comic books, and now we have interest. There's I go to the store. I go to stores now. I go to Target. I see an Ultraman toy. I mean, it's the Mego toy, but still, it exists. I've seen the pop vinyls. Kamen Rider doesn't have pop vinyls. Ultraman does. They've just been marketing themselves better, plain and simple. And they've been doing it so well, and it builds such good faith because you know what they're going to do. You know how they're going to present it, and you know what they're going to give you. With Toei and Team Rider and Kamen Rider in the West in general, I'm still just kind of waiting for some kind of roadmap. I know Futo PI is coming out, but that's basically it. I'm still waiting to find out what the next Bluray series is going to be. I'm still waiting to find out what the next series are going to translate for Tubi is going to be. I have no idea if there's going to be anything posted on Toei Tokusatsu World that I should even pay attention to anymore. Are they ever going to do better than 2 episodes at a time? Probably not. No matter how much better Ultraman's doing, I don't think Toei cares. I think they would rather just keep testing the waters and throwing things and seeing on the wall and seeing what sticks. But, you can just see the results and see that it's not sticking. It's just crazy to me how much better Ultraman is doing when Toei's got such a bigger library to tap. And it's just not working. So these are among my frustrations. Again, I'm going to point you to this Twitter thread. There's a lot more salient points in here. There's a lot more to talk about. And more than a lot more than I'm gonna get in. I didn't even touch on the Bluray or on the Bluefin side of things, where again, I'm not necessarily sure Bluefin is even doing the right thing with how random their support's been. But you know what? It's all left to opinion. So let me know what you think. How do you feel about the way Rider is being handled in the U.S.? Are you happy with what's been coming out? Are you been happy with the way they've been balancing it? Or do you wish they could be doing better? I know most out there would wish a different series was being focused on rather than 01, Ryuki, and whatever else they've been randomly putting out. But that's beside the point. Because of course we'll get more. We support this. We'll get the ones we really want. Or you could just lead with your best foot. That's an idea too. I don't know. It's a wait and see, isn't it? So I guess keep supporting. Support it when it's good, and then when it's not good, let them know. Wherever that is. I don't even know how to tell Toei I don't want a Black Ichigo. I don't want 2 episodes at a time. Nobody does. They heard you. They saw you post on all those videos. You don't want just 2 episodes, and they ignored you. They said, you pointed out that all of those translations were bad and mistimed. They kept putting them out in just as bad a condition. They're practically unwatchable. And yet that's how they keep presenting them. Unprofessional. Dirty. Just bad. If they want Kamen Rider to succeed in the West, if they want Kamen Rider to leave Japan, they've got to do better. And the example is right now, their own competition that is just trouncing them. And it shouldn't be that way. But that's just how it goes sometimes. So here's to hoping Toei gets better. Here's to hoping that it gets a little bit more organized and we actually know what's going to be happening. Because right now, I've got no idea where this is going. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.